Okay, my friends, welcome once again to the show that never ends. Lou Martin here, Mr. Spirit Talk, and I'm honored and delighted to be with my friend Treacy O'Connor. And Treacy, I'll put the ball in your court. Tell us who you are and why we're going to have a good chat here tonight.
Hi Lou, thanks
Hi,
for
dear.
having me, and it's a pleasure to have a chat with you.
Thank
Uh,
you.
who am I? Well, I was ordained back in July as a One Spirit Interfaith minister.
Right?
It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
No, it's lovely.
I officially come with the title Reverend.
You're ahead of me on that score. Very good.
But really, it's not about titles and it's not about labels. One Spirit Interfaith is all religions and none. And why I was really called to it was to deepen my connection with myself and my own divine connection with Spirit. Um,
How,
but
how long how long is the training for that program?
it's a 2-year course in London.
Wow. Okay.
So every month, over and forth, back and forth to London.
Wow.
First year is all about immersing ourselves in the different faith paths. So you're
Okay.
getting to know yourself through a month in Judaism, a month in Buddhism, a month in Islam, a month in
Wow.
Christianity, and so on. Earth-based spirituality, modern spirituality.
Wow.
It's very all-encompassing, but it's really revealing.
It's
um,
incredible. I have to say I'm jealous. That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it's really, really special. And
Mm,
then the second year is all about ceremony. And what I loved about it was that even though I had already started to do a bit of ceremony in running women's wisdom circles that I do at the Hill of Tara every month.
right. So we definitely want to give you plenty of space to talk about that and get
Yeah,
people going to those. Yeah.
sure. Um, what I loved about the course was that throughout the second year, we immersed ourselves in ceremony from birth to death. And so each month we had to write our own ceremony, starting with our birth ceremony, going into adolescence, etc.
Well.
And it was like a rewriting of our own biography. So it was
Mhm.
like rewriting your script as you
Yeah.
would have wanted it to be,
Wow.
which brought up so much stuff. And like, oh, it was really intense,
Yeah.
but beautifully held,
Mm,
very well supported.
mm.
And yeah, yeah. So there's now 38 or so ordained ministers in Ireland, interfaith ministers.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of doubled. I think there was 16 or 17 until July.
Okay.
And there
Okay.
was 18 of us then ordained in one go. So yeah, it's I'd recommend anybody looking into it if they really want to immerse themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How long has this tradition been in place? How long has this been going on?
Well, in the UK, it started in the States. It started in New York. A rabbi who wanted to bring more faiths together
Of
and
course.
open it up, and then it was Miranda McPherson who brought it to the UK
Hmm.
in 1996.
Okay.
Thereabouts. It's actually
Right.
celebrating its UK and Ireland's 21st anniversary
Okay.
this
Wow.
year. So it's going through its own process, the organization
Mm-hmm.
of
Mm-hmm.
coming into adulthood, I suppose, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, so yeah, there's an open day in Dublin. I think it's the 24th of June.
Okay.
If anybody's interested anyway.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's good. Sure, people that will listen to this will definitely be interested because it's, Treacy, it's a path of spiritual empowerment,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
it's obviously it's a great, program that gives you 2 years of real inner work,
Yeah,
and I love it.
yeah,
This familiarity of the other traditions and respect and deep connection to those traditions, and then, as you said, making your own inner journey and using ceremony and ritual,
yeah,
to express what you've uncovered about your own
yeah.
inner self. That's extraordinary.
And I was really drawn to it as well because I remember 9/11 when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
About a month afterwards, I remember seeing the congress of all the different faiths coming together. And even back then, when I wasn't connected to my spiritual self whatsoever,
Okay.
was just my heart just sang. I thought, this is what we need. We need to get
Mm,
the labels. We need to just get on and
mm.
step outside the boxes and get rid of the boxes. You know, there shouldn't be
Sure.
any boxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's come back to harmony and nature, and I'm really connected, and I love everything that's indigenous.
Yes.
For the
Me
old
too.
ways, yeah, the American ways, the old Irish ways
Mm-hmm.
of coming together in circle, of everybody having a place, of everybody being supported.
Right.
The idea of us all supporting each other. So there is no elderly outcasts, you know. They're supported, and their wisdom is honored and revered, and they're teaching the kids. I just, you know, it just seems so common sense to me.
Sure. I quite agree with you. I mean, I got to spend some time with the Lakota. And that was a great privilege. And, you know, I'd say off and on, you know, for the better part of a year or so. I really learned a lot interacting with, you know, the indigenous culture and the indigenous people. And as you say, there's a sacredness about life and about the process of living and the process of, you know, where all of us have a role in it, from the youngest to the oldest. And, you know, of course, there's a deep connection. This is what I really am fascinated about, Treacy, the Celtic traditions and its indigenous roots. Can you talk a little bit about that and how the Women's Wisdom Circle works with that tradition?
Yeah, sure. I was trained in running women's circles by Karen Ward.
Okay.
In Dublin. She's an amazing woman.
Okay.
And so she had the concept. She had started to run women's circles on the full moon every month for, like, she was doing it for 3 years. Called Moon Manaw. So and very much ingrained in the Irish culture. So she then started to open it up and decided, she was given the call, you need to start training other women to do this. So I was amongst the first group of women that she trained. She now does training with women online all over the world, which is amazing. So basically, it really helped me to step into my connection, which was reawakening my connection with my Celtic self. So the Celtic calendar for me is in harmony with nature. It's very simple. So for me, it starts in winter, where you have the fertile soil, and you're sowing your seeds, you're nurturing whatever you want to sow. So it begins at Samhain, you know, the 1st of November. So I run the circles every month up at the Hill of Tara, which is an amazing spot and great energy to hold them in.
Yes.
It's indoors.
Oh, okay. Brilliant. Tell my American friends who might not be familiar with Hill of Tara what all that is about.
Okay, so there are many sacred sites in Ireland, as most people will be aware of.
Yeah.
So going back about a few thousand years.
Sure. Yes.
There was a tribe called the Tuatha De Danann.
Right.
And they were the tribe. So Tuatha is Irish and Celtic for tribe, and De Danann of Danu, the goddess Danu,
okay,
which is of the earth.
Okay.
So back to your Lakota and the Native American culture.
Right.
It's the tribe of Mother Earth.
Beautiful.
They held a lot of mystery and magic. They honored the feminine. Where do I start? Let me see. There's so much to this whole subject. I want to try and keep it simple for you.
You're doing great. But let's come back to the Hill of Tara just to get that covered. So
there's places in Ireland where it said that the Tuatha De Danann went underground when they were invaded by the Milesian Celts, who became our leaders going forward going from about 2,500 years ago. Actually, so Newgrange is not far from the Hill of Tara.
Right.
And it's a birth canal.
Right.
Where the solstice shines in through the chamber, the 21st of December every
year. Right. Newgrange is a spectacular, huge stone creation that commemorates and ritualizes the passage of the sun on the December solstice.
Yes.
Right.
So there's places like Newgrange, and then the Hill of Tara, which is about half an hour minute drive from Newgrange,
right,
where stands the Leah Fall, which is the Stone of Destiny. The Tuatha De Danann said that they built Newgrange as a passage tomb with the alignment of the sun coming in, as you say, with the solstice sun,
Right.
announcing the return of the light.
It's the birth of the year, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
The return of the light, and it's I suppose, the merging between the feminine holder, the womb, and the sun god, entering the womb and creating new life.
Yeah.
So the Tuatha Dé Danann, who ruled Ireland when they went underground, they gifted some items to the Milesian Celts. One of them was Luiafáil, which is the stone of destiny, which looks like a very phallic stone symbol.
Yes.
And it's at the Hill of Tara. It was said that when the Milesian Celts were to choose a leader, whoever put their hand or stood on the stone would sing, because that was a true leader. It wasn't passed down through lineage.
Okay.
It was passed to whoever had a heart in the right place.
Beautiful.
Whoever held the intentions of the community.
I've lived here for 9 years. I never heard that story, so that's great. Great. Yeah.
And so that's the Hill of Tara, is one of the places that it's said that the Tuatha Dé Danann went underground.
Right.
There's a whole story about that, which we can maybe go into another time. But
Okay.
Basically, so I hold my women's circles, which are also open to men sometimes too. It's called
Okay.
a distance circle, and I was trained to hold it for women. But I'm also very conscious that we have to be in harmony and in balance with the masculine too. So there are some circles that are open to men as well.
Thank you.
The last circle, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. The
Sure.
last circle was coming into Easter time. We were connecting with the energy of the Morrigan, which some people may know or may not.
Yeah.
Again, from the Tuatha Dé Danann tribe, the hero Cuchulainn.
Okay. I've heard the name.
She depicted his death. He was a great warrior.
Okay.
She depicted his death. She shape-shifted into a crow, and she's placed on his shoulder to announce his death. He basically, he before he died, he strapped himself to a post because he didn't want to. He wanted to die still standing.
Okay.
So she announced his death. So she's the bringer of. Associated with death, and a lot of people might fear her, but it's about birth, death, and rebirth. It's the never-ending cycle.
Right.
So that kind of theme would be open to men as well.
Right.
Next week, I'm doing the fairy rites, which is very joyful and playful and fun circle where we gather at the fairy tree at the Hill of Tara, and the fairy tree being the hawthorn tree, which is a very sacred tree in Ireland.
Right.
A lot of farmers won't go near. Actually, no farmers will go near any hawthorn trees because of the I suppose the bad luck that they would have if they were to cut them down. Right.
Well, they're sacred, so they should leave them in peace. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Right.
Right.
It's great to have that still in place, really, in the modern agricultural world as well.
Yeah.
But it's about connecting, basically, the fairy rites is about reconnecting with our playful, joyful, innocent selves, focused intention. You know, for me, it's about bringing these myths and legends and connecting with the gods and goddesses. It's about bringing them into our everyday world, in how we are in our own lives today. How do we cook? What's our intentions? What seeds do we want to sow? How are we inspired? What's our wisdom, etc.
Yeah. That's brilliant, hon. I'm so glad we're doing this. I'm just learning so much here. I'm so grateful to you. In my studies, Treacy, I've worked with the astrological wheel and the tarot deck and the angel cards and things like this that deal with the archetypes, the Enneagram and all these sorts of systems. And so what I love about both mythology, as we understand it, and the indigenous wisdom of the Celts and all that you're talking about here is that these themes, as you say, keep reoccurring, and there's a wisdom in understanding that begins to, I think what both of us have connected with and many others is it gets you out of the mindset of the modern Western technological corporate governmental mind, frame of reference, the patriarchy that we've all, we all need greater freedom to grow through. Yeah,
sure. And coming from a corporate background myself, I know it very well, and actually, I'm nearly born into a very much a patriarchal family as
Oh,
well.
right.
So breaking out of the mold. But I really get at the moment, Lou. I don't know if you're no doubt feeling it as well. This real sense of the feminine really coming back in.
Sure. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Well, you're a clear and open channel for that wisdom, my friends, and it's great. I mean, Treacy, the thing that all of us are who are called in this direction, as we have been here, is to be bridge builders, and between these different mindsets. And I assume you grew up Catholic here in Ireland, like everyone else in the country.
Yeah, but I never connected with it because it didn't mean anything to me. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you got off lucky. You got off lucky because, I mean, for years, every time I would hold a group, everyone would have to start talking about their spirituality by confessing that, by the way, I grew up a Catholic. Really? What a shock. You're the first one.
Yeah.
But that we have a bit of freedom now, and it's all about exploring, true meaning and a higher purpose about all of this. So the divine feminine, the energy that you just tapped into there, that was gorgeous, is the living, breathing soul of the planet that needs a voice again.
Yeah, exactly. And isn't it amazing to see the likes of the film, Mary Magdalene coming out, and nobody knew right at the very end of the movie, it gives the title, it says that in 2016 that Pope recognized Mary Magdalene as the apostle of the apostles.
Wow.
And to have that in the movie, but that was 2 years ago. Why didn't anybody hear about that?
Well, honestly, sure. It's dear to my heart, as it is to anyone who values a clear picture of the truth in our culture. It was part of what I loved about the Da Vinci Code, both the book and the film. When I would do workshops, Treacy, I would show that 5-minute clip in Da Vinci Code where Ian McKellen is telling everyone what is the hidden history of the Christian, religion here, and that it is Mary being given the church from Jesus, to carry it on. Yeah.
And the truth is really coming in. Well, what I'm finding is now, okay, we know all this stuff, and we've known it from the Da Vinci Code. We've known it from before. We know that there's a feminine energy that's much more nurturing, that's a much more collaborative way of being together than competition. And we've been led by the masculine so far in the last couple of thousand years. And now it's time. It's not about for me. It's really important not to go, oh, we're so sick of that. Yeah, we are sick of it, but it's important not to brush it to the side, because both the masculine and the feminine have a really important role to play, both at the same time. And it's about coming back into balance.
Sure.
And for me, like embodying the feminine, I've kind of discovered over the past couple of weeks through my own self journey is that we haven't actually known what that is.
Oh yeah. We
haven't been able to let it in because we've been so shut off from our solar plexus down. We have not been able to connect with our sacral chakra, with our root. We've been, I suppose women have been the worst in terms of not really embodying what it is to be in a woman's body.
Well, let me speak on your behalf here for a moment, womankind. Let me share what I quite agree with you. Patricia Cota-Robles is one of the teachers that I study, and listen to her teachings and value quite a great deal. And she's started this whole series over the last year and a half where she's doing like a 10-minute update from her guides each week. So that's one to know about. It's on eraofpeace.org. But what she said basically, and what Lazarus and my other teachers and Drunvalo Melchizedek have all said, which is when we had the fall from grace, whether you call it the Garden of Eden being kicked out of the garden, or the fall of Atlantis, or however we reference it in history, it is this that you're talking about here. Our hearts shut down, and we went from being whole-brained to being half-brained, and then the divine feminine, which has not ever gone anywhere, because where else could she go? Where her creation and her children. but we were unconscious, is my point here, of the full inheritance of our spiritual wisdom because of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's not about, it's, for me, it's, we can know this stuff, and we can read about it, and we can embrace it, but we really have to live it. We
Sure.
really have to feel it. And
Sure.
that can be really scary for most women, because it's been such so many lifetimes of fear and shame and guilt and being told not to go there.
Sure.
That it's a really deep process to be able to reconnect to. But I really feel that there's a huge shift after happening in the last couple of days, even to allow that. Really, I think it's, it feels like the time is really now.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
brilliant, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's so exciting.
It is. I quite agree with you. It's the Me Too movement, and the Harvey Weinstein and Donald Trump in our Western culture representing the dark and ugly side of the misuse of power and the misuse of women and sexuality and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just being laid out for people to look at. Like, isn't this hideous and ugly, everyone? And don't we need to do something about this?
Yeah, and it comes with for me a real note of caution, that the Me Too and all of that, to be really careful not to go back into our old masculine ways of being angry, or trying to put it down. It's recognizing that it's a reflection of an aspect of our collective consciousness that
Right.
we embrace, actually, and
Right.
go, wow, we've been through this, and what a wake-up call. Let's forgive and let's move on, and
Sure.
let's start working together again. Because if we keep going back into the angry activism, we're never going to get anywhere.
Sure.
We have to actually own it.
Sure.
And really move through it.
Sure, I quite agree with you. I mean, most of the one-to-one sessions I do are with women, and
Mm-hmm.
most of the work that we do in those sessions is about this very subject, which is how women's voices have been stolen from them through pain and fear and intimidation. And
Mm-hmm.
as you're saying, I actually believe that anger is a necessary step. Abraham says the same thing. You can't get from despair to empowerment unless sometimes you're willing to find your voice and express the anger. But quite to your point, and I really support it 100%, the role of men is to be protectors and guardians of the women and the divine feminine in women, so that women feel safe, loved, and supported enough to be able to be vulnerable, to be passionate, to be lovers and mothers to our world.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right about that point about anger. It's hugely important, because it is the balance. It is on the emotional scale, anger is right there in the middle as the catalyst into the higher vibration.
Right. It's the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, my little formula, this is the joy. I say the patriarchy that we've grown up under is, the rule book is, women are allowed to be sad but cannot be angry, and men are allowed to be angry but cannot be sad. And so men are suffering as much from our inability to love fully and deeply, to grieve fully and deeply, to cry and to be vulnerable and to be soft, as well as being strong and powerful and all those other things.
Yeah. And because we went through such a phase of feminism that I suppose men somehow lost the sense of where they were in the world as well, because women became so strong and started, taking corporate roles and CEO roles and leader roles. And I wonder, does it leave men a little bit lost in, well, where are we with each other,
Well, let me give you my little opinion. That's a juicy tidbit for me to chew on for a second. This is the whole thing, Treacy, isn't it, about the inner journey? And you see, when we make, like you said earlier, when we make competition and conquering and sexual conquest and these kinds of values as more important than nurturing and healing and feeling and caring for and caring about, then we're in trouble. and that's where we've come to in the world. But when men make the inner journey, just like women, see, men can choose not to make the inner journey more easily than women can choose not to make the inner journey, because menstruating, having women's emotions, giving birth, being so vulnerable sexually, physically, all of that demands that women be deeply in touch with their bodies and their feelings, right? Yeah. Whereas men can pretend that we live in our heads and our penises, pardon the expression, and everything else is irrelevant.
Well, physiologically, it's an inward and it's an outward, right? So
Sure. But the difference between lust and love is our ability to connect, obviously, emotionally, and to love and to care and respect one another.
And I think that it comes back again to the balance, not only with how men and women are with each other in the world, but how we are internally with our inner masculine and our inner feminine.
You said it there. That is absolutely the truth of it. And when men haven't had the opportunity to make any kind of an inner journey, and everything has been external and physical and left brain and this kind of thing, then they truly are deeply confused and alienated from their own emotional makeup.
Yeah.
This is where it's wonderful that you're doing your great work. It's wonderful that women are gathering in wisdom circles on the full moon and doing ritual. And it's wonderful that you're also so visionary, that you understand that, of course, men need some of that externalization of their own spiritual journey as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's for everybody, and it's great to see so many women's groups starting up all over the world. Never mind in Ireland too.
Sure.
People really starting to embrace the fact that we can sit in circle and we can hear each other and be heard.
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
listen and deeply from the heart, and
Mm-hmm.
just be in a lovely space together where we feel safe to just express whatever it is that's on our hearts,
Mm-hmm.
with a team and guided and held,
Mm-hmm.
in a sacred space. It's very important that it's held.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just bringing about this lovely juiciness, not only in the women's wisdom circles, but for me, I'm bringing it into the corporate space as well. So
that's a challenge. That gets my respect.
I come from the corporate world originally, so I know how it operates and what the challenges are.
Yeah.
But bringing it in a form of meditation, mindfulness classes,
really,
well-being in the corporate space is really, really gaining traction and really becoming a big thing. So
wow.
being able to bring the heart space into the corporate world without really saying that, but being able to bring it in such a way that if we can connect with ourselves and feel our bodies and be more present, then we're in a better position to connect with each other and to have better relationships in the workplace with our colleagues, to build better teams, to build better structures, and to have better relationships with our clients, with our outside world.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing, just in a different language. I often say to people, I speak English in many different languages.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah.
I think it's important to be able to connect with people where they're at,
Oh, 100%, of course. And I mean, that's a great gift that you're bringing to the people that you're working with, because you, as we were saying earlier, we did in take one of this before we got our techno stuff sorted here. We have a foot in each world, and we're asked to be bridge builders here.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many of us now. It's great. And it's great to be able to, and it's really important too, just to say that we can't do this on our own. The only way to move forward is in collaboration and supporting each other, especially therapists and facilitators, because it's such an individual job, soul trader,
That's a good one.
Screw that.
Yeah.
Let's create cooperatives. Let's create collaborations where we can support each other and build on each other's skills and help each other out. And
yes,
really, that's part of what I'm doing in the corporate space. There's 8 of us who have come together to form corporate wellness.
There are 8.
8.
Okay.
And it was funny because I saw Patricia Cota-Robles. Was it?
Do you mean Lynn McTaggart?
Lynn McTaggart, yeah. And I was like, yeah, we're on the right track.
Well, you certainly are, my friend, because honestly, that's just caught my attention recently. Do you want to tell people about the Power of Eight for a second, or?
No, because you go ahead.
Sure.
Because
All
I
right.
only just touched on it, but I'd love to
Okay.
get the book. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, I'm fascinated. You can be my test case there. I'll study you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. So Lynn McTaggart has written a book called The Power of Eight, and her previous book was called The Field, and she's worked a lot with science and spirituality about the power of prayer and intention. And what she discovered when she's created her workshops is eight is the magic number, where if you get a group of eight to work together and to it's kind of like what we would call a mastermind group, coming up in the New Thought churches, Church of Religious Science and Agape and this kind of thing in the States, as I did, which doesn't have the breadth of study that you talked about in your program. That's why I said it. God, that sounds exciting. But so, yes, she had people, Lynn, meditate, visualize 8 to 10 minutes on an outcome that each individual wanted. And she also, of course, spoke as you and I, get to be employed by God in our lives on a daily basis, of how altruism and service, continues to clear our own clutter and confusion when we get out of our own way and we try to take care of each other, and let that be the focus. But anyway, Power of Eight is, she says, it's just been a quantum leap above any other manifesting that she's seen in any groups.
It makes sense, doesn't it? Like it's the symbol of infinity, right? And it's just like it's never ending.
Yes.
And for me, it's that coming back into harmony,
Right.
the perfect balance. Again, that middle point between feminine, masculine, between it just makes sense. Yeah.
Yes. To me, in my teachings with my channeled guides, I call that the paradox, as you're saying. Yeah, and my guides call it the space for grace. And
lovely.
Yeah, and Lazarus calls it the space between, where it's not either this or that, and there's a third possibility that becomes the synergy of all the parts together more than they would be individually.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what we're taught as well as part of the Interfaith course, to be spiritual counselors, is honoring that there's three entities in the relationship. There's you, there's the client, and there's the space in between.
A lot of wisdom there. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
We could go forever, Lou.
Yes, I'm having a wonderful chat here with you. This is a joy, my friend. I'm glad we finally did this.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. So what do you want to leave people with in terms of connecting with you and your great work? How can we support you?
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.
I guess the website is the easiest. It's TreacyO'Connor.com. And it's Treacy spelled like the Irish surname, which is really unusual, and most people can't get their heads around it.
Right. And tell us how that's spelled.
It's Treacy, like
good.
treacle.
Right. That's
without the LE.
Right.
That's the easiest way to remember.
Right.
O'Connor, OCONNOR.com.
Very good. Was that the name you were given at birth in that way?
It was. Yes. I was born the day before St. Patrick's Day. My father's name was Patrick, and he wanted to call me Patrick, but luckily my mother got her way.
Yes.
And so I was named after an Irish Republican revolutionary called Sean Treacy.
Oh, very good. See, you're just teaching me so much here. It's wonderful. And so TreacyO'Connor.com, great.
Yes.
Okay. And then can you say again your group that you study with in UK? Perhaps give them a...
Sure. Yeah, One Spirit Interfaith Foundation.
Okay.
And it's onespiritinterfaith.org is the website.
Very good.
All the information is there. That's the easiest place to find. I think there's a link on my website to it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. But I can send you on the link, and you can post it if you like.
I will be happy to do that. Thank you. And hun, when is your next full moon event?
The next full moon, Lou.
which is help us out. What day is that?
It's next week, actually, which is Saturday. Well, I run them as close as possible to the full moon, but I usually run them on a weekend.
Okay.
It's easier for people. It's actually, so the next one is on Sunday.
Okay. So is that the 30th by my reckoning?
It's the
27th, 28th,
29th.
29th, maybe?
29th.
29th? Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, the information will be connected to my Facebook page, connected to the website as well.
Brilliant.
It's all there. Yeah.
Brilliant. And do you work with people one-on-one as well?
I do, yeah, with spiritual counseling, which is really profound. And I can work with anybody anywhere in the world through Skype, Zoom, even on the telephone. It's equally as powerful as in person.
Right.
What I, like you, hold a space for the divine to come through, and really hold a safe space for people to face their fears, challenges, whatever it is they need to get through, and just get through it without having to go through the whole drama of where it came from. Just
Right.
get rid of it.
Right. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, you're a bright light in Ireland and a bright light in the world, my dear. We're very grateful.
Thank you, Lou, and thank you for being here and holding the space down the south for us.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you, my friend. It's a joy. It's a joy. And, this is, just to say this, Treacy, this is the gift of service, is we always receive more than we try to give.
Yeah, but receiving has been really hard for us women.
Well, yes, we could do a session on that, Treacy.
We could do a session.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, since you said that, it's like in the States, even though I live in Ireland, because I've given up the car and everything's online, I follow the States, which of course I know much more, much better than I do the Irish side of things here. So, which is why I'm so grateful to learn about the spiritual traditions of the Celts and all that you've shared here, and more to learn. But in the States, women and the kids are they've really stepped into their power in terms of, as you said, the shifts that are taking place right now. And I'll just say here, my friend, astrologically, the next 2 years are truly fated to be absolutely revolutionary. It's the same energy that we had at the end of the 1960s. That's what we're in right now.
I can feel it.
Yeah. So, the great thing, I want to say this too before we get done. Do we ever talk about Riane Eisler and her book, The Chalice and the Blade?
No.
Well, that's one for me to send your way. She's a wonderful teacher, and this just supports everything that you've said and that you're about. What she showed through the archaeological record is that most human societies were matriarchal. And the ones that were patriarchal were short-lived, and they made a big splash and a big mess, and they weren't sustainable. So, this is the truth that we all need. We need both these energies. And as you said, I want to come back to this as well. We all have our own personal experiences, and our teachers and trainings and all that. But I completely resonate with what you said earlier. I feel so blessed, Treacy, honestly, that you and I have reconnected. And, we've had such a journey together here in the short time that I've been in the country here. And I'm so grateful to you for showing up again and being so open and so warm and welcoming. And to me, this is the great gift of Ireland and her people, especially the women. They are extraordinarily giving and compassionate. And it's a glorious time to be alive. And what I want to say also is that every one of us has a piece of the sacred puzzle, and that's why we're in the world in this lifetime. I'm convinced of that. For
sure. And it's really important, I think, in collaboration, when we're coming together to work together, that we don't have to do what somebody else is doing. We just have to connect with what is ours to do, and then we find our piece and how we can slot together. It's
Amen. Really yes, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Well, I think we did it, my dear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well done. Okay.
Thanks so much, Lou. Yeah.
Pleasure. So thanks, Treacy. Love to you, my friend. I'll send you a copy and we'll talk again soon, okay?
Great. Thanks, Lou.
Brilliant. Thanks a million.
Have a great night. Yeah.
You too, hon. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.